Hi, I'm Ben Lee, and this is the 24 Hours Podcast.
T minus 4, 3, 2, 1.
Following is a 24 Hours Podcast.
How's Canada reacting to Awake is the New Sleep?
Well, it's really great. I mean, it's the record first came out February '05, so there were like the hardcore fans that got it then, and we came up into it and everything. But then it got re-released by Universal a couple months ago, and I did this tour with Sam Roberts, and the song's getting played on the radio and stuff. So it's sort of blossoming, and just lots of new faces at the shows, and yeah, great vibe.
Now, though you're not a very old guy, you're somewhat of a veteran. I mean, I understand you started, playing professional music, or playing music, I guess, in your early teens.
Yeah, I started making records coming up to 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, some high school friends from Sydney, Australia formed a band. Is it true you recorded the demo in your bedroom?
Yeah, between the bedroom and the kitchen. You know, the kitchen had a different sonic quality, resonance.
Absolutely. Now, were you a musical kid? Did you show any signs? Or you had an inclination to play? Were you just a ham that wanted to perform?
I liked playing, I played piano and played guitar and stuff, but I was never interested in becoming prodigal at any of the, instruments. That I didn't really have that desire to become a great pianist or guitar player. I was interested in straight away using them for songwriting tools. So as far as songwriting goes, you don't need to know a huge amount of music to write a good song, technically. Basic chords are enough. So once I got those, I was more interested in developing my songwriting rather than necessarily getting great at that instrument.
Now, at the time you were a young, impressionable kid listening to the radio, what was the big thing? Was Men at Work the big thing in Australia?
No, not so. I mean, I don't remember that so clearly, but, like the Pet Shop Boys, Bon Jovi, Tiffany, Debbie Gibson, I liked all them a lot. And everything. I mean, I sort of liked everything. I'm the same now. Like, if it had a catchy melody, I liked it, And that was, like, the part of me that's a student of pop culture, and I admire stuff that communicates.
So you drew your influences from a variety of sources, and what was played in the house? What was the family listening to?
Well, my parents liked some kind of things like John Denver and Peter, Paul and Mary and stuff like I guess what you'd call like commercial kind of folk stuff, and that actually had a pretty big influence on me, I think, on my sound and my love of the acoustic guitar, and on and also just in general, in seeing the way that a whole family could enjoy music together. We'd all listen to Elvis, like stuff like that was really important to me, and I think still now, I don't want to make music that's just for one group of people. I want to make music that sort of fits everybody.
Well, now, I've read that Awake is the New Sleep. It sort of brings out a more lighter side of your viewpoints and your attitudes and stuff, as opposed to, how much darker were earlier Ben Lee recordings? It's
not they were darker, but my music always reflected where I was at. So when I was a teenager and I didn't want to be in school, who wants to be in school and you're not meeting the girls you want to meet? And, I just wrote from where I was at, At this point in my life, I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm doing what I love. I'm on the road of my destiny, and I'm managing to make people happy doing what I love and making some money. And, I feel a lot of joy and a lot of peace right now. So my music would have to reflect that.
So you're in a good place right now.
Yeah, I feel great.
Now, what about things like MySpace pages and that? I mean, obviously you seem to have a pretty good list of friends and supporters and stuff like that. Is MySpace, are you finding that's a really good way to interact with today's music fan?
Yeah, it's different, Back in like the 60s and stuff, bands would put out a lot more recorded material. So you'd have the Beatles making a record a year, or more than a record a year sometimes, So there was that immediacy between artist and the fans, right? Now it's a different world. Like, you put out a record, you can promote it for 2-3 years. So the immediacy has to come in a different way. And now we have contact with our fans in a different way, So there is still the immediacy that I could have an idea for a blog or something like that and put it up there and the fans get it right away. In some way, there has to be direct contact. And I think now MySpace and the internet and stuff, that gives you that opportunity.
Now, you're from Sydney originally. Where is home base for you these days?
I don't have a home base.
You don't have a home base,
No.
just wherever you are?
I haven't lived anywhere for about 3 years.
Because I'd read that in Australia, they didn't really embrace your youthfulness,
Yeah.
and yet you found that in the U.S. they do.
It took a long time. In Australia, I think maybe I was so ambitious, and that was a bit frowned upon or something in the beginning. But they came around, and especially on this record, it's done really well there. And it just took some time, I think, for them to understand what I was all about. if I would describe a typical Band Lee audience member, it wouldn't be the way a person looks or what age they are or anything like that. It would be the spirit that they come to the show with. You know, I think my fans, they're open. You know, they want to come and be open. They want to open their heart and celebrate music and celebrate life. Even if they're sad, you know, they enjoy the potential of music to bring people together.
Tell us about the Bends.
Yeah. Well, the Bends was originally Ben Folds asked me and Quella to do a tour with him in Australia, and I just said, hey, let's get in the studio, let's be a band. You know, that's way more fun. So we went in Nashville in the studio for 4 days. In each day we wrote and recorded a song. We made an EP that you can still get up on iTunes and the internet. But it was one of the great musical experiences of my life, just to have such a limited palette, you know, just have 3 people and our abilities to work with, but we all loved each other and we're great friends, and we managed to make something really cool.
Now, I must ask you also about the song you did for Evan Dando, which he eventually covered. Now, how unusual is that?
Yeah, that was my first single I ever put out, Wish I Was Him, and it ended up being covered by Evan Dando, by Kathleen Hanna, who was in Bikini Kill and now in Le Tigre. It was one of those songs that sort of captured people's imagination at the time, and I still play it live. You know, it's a really it's a dear song to me. It's a song where I first, I think, also realized about bringing a sense of humor into a pop song and how that could touch people.
So it was satirical but not mocking.
Yeah, it really wasn't even technically about Evan. It was a song I wrote about envy of a rock star.
Yeah.
And at that moment, he was such a great rock star and doing a great job of that. So I think I played that angle up a bit.
24hours.ca